This is Nursing Uncensored. I'm your host, Adrianne Benning, and I invite you to listen in on conversations I've had with real nurses about the crazy and wonderful lives we lead. This podcast is meant to create laughter in addition to serious discussion, and nothing is off limits. We're always honest, but we're not always safe for work. Please listen responsibly. Welcome back to Nursing Uncensored. It's me, Adrianne, as always, here again with Jillian. Hey, Jillian, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
Welcome back. This is what, I'm losing track. Are you your fourth, your fifth show? I have no idea, but welcome back. You're here again.
We're here again for another one.
I get lots of good emails about the shows that we do together. So thank you for coming back and talking to me again. Thank you for not being sick of my shit yet.
Oh my gosh, no, I love being on this because we always talk about relevant things.
Yeah, tonight we're getting super relevant. Tonight we are bringing things into the here and now. We are, in the middle of a pandemic. We have Iowa hurricanes, we have southern Gulf Coast hurricanes, wildfires. The world is insane. Everything is kind of turned on its ear. The election coming up. It's a wild, wild time to be alive. And so we started thinking about all of our students out there that are feeling like, shit, this is not the way it's supposed to be going. I can't imagine being in the middle of nursing school right now, any program in the middle of all this, let alone trying to get my license, trying to pass my NCLEX with everything going on around us. So we're going to talk a little bit today about feeling derailed, feeling like things aren't going the way they're supposed to. And I have this I want to read, I'm not going to read it word for word. I'm going to paraphrase this little thing that I wrote because I was thinking about it. What is it, aside from the obvious requirements of a nursing program, what is it that makes us want to hurry up? What makes us want to get over it? And there's a lot, especially in the United States, there's a lot of societal pressure that you have to achieve. Not only do you need to be Insta perfect, but sometimes we even need to have our goals fulfilled right now. We're given these benchmarks by society, the media, our parents, our partners, whoever it is. We got to have all these things checked off the list by a certain age, right? Got to have the job, the car, the clothes, the Amazon deliveries, the perfect kids, an Instagram account that is just enviable and super beautiful. We have to have this all, right? Maybe we don't even need all this. Maybe we just need enough to get by and enjoy life a little bit. Okay. So whatever it is, we feel like we need it now. Mm-hmm. Especially once you get to the place, and you can tell me if you felt this way too, but once you reach a place where you figured out that you want to be a nurse, the desire is so strong that we just want to do it. We want to do it now. And nursing school is so unpleasant in so many ways. And it's hard.
What a nice way to say that. Unpleasant.
Well, you're tired. You're probably financially constrained a little bit. You've got all this work to do. You have this pressure put on you, clinicals, classes, projects. So when our plans change, whatever the reason, it can lead to a lot of emotion and, frustration, disappointment, urgency, discouragement. I had those moments where I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to finish. I'm never going to finish. And
the road is endless. You're just on a treadmill.
Yeah. And there are lots of reasons you can be derailed. Derailed is just the word that I continuously think of. You're not, what am I trying to say? You're not defeated. You're not sabotaged. It's just sometimes you get a little derailed, COVID happens, or, your school shuts down, or your job changes, or suddenly
you're still going to get to point B. You just have to take the back road because the main road was closed.
Exactly. And sometimes all the main roads are closed, and it's nothing but a series of back roads. So we're going to talk today a little bit, we're not going to get super saccharine-y. This is not the meditation of positivity that you need in your life. If you need that, there are plenty of other people that do those things. What we're going to talk about are the real ways that you deal with nothing going as planned right now. And, these suggestions, take them or leave them. Not everything might apply to you, but as we kind of talk about this, just listen for things that might help you get through this time. You will get through this time. There will come a day when you look back and you're like, damn, I remember when I was in nursing school and Adrianne and Jillian were like, it's going to suck, but you're going to get it. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight. Okay. So that was my really long intro, but, let's talk about it. Cause you're doing the online school thing. We kind of talked about that in the last episode where we talked about just surviving online school, not even the derailments and the changes.
This is like surviving perfectly set up online school.
Yeah, that's like ideal situation. This is like the, okay, buttercup, this is going to suck, but here's how we're going to handle it.
Yes.
That's what this should be called. So what are some things that come to mind, Jillian, when you think about the good? Well, first, let's talk. There are bad ways that you can handle the changes, right? There are ways that you can kind of take a bad situation and make it worse. I've done it. The number one thing I'm thinking of is when something happens, you think, oh God, the fatalism.
Oh yeah.
I'm never going to master this.
You remember me. I always used to say that I needed to become a vacuum salesman because I was never going to get through school, which I still say that because it's online school right now. No, 100% have been there. Yes.
I mean, I've said it too. I'm like, I'm just going to go drive a cab because I'm excited. And no shame to the cab drivers of the world, but sometimes I have that feeling of like, is Target hiring? I used to work there. I could do that again. So that's the number one thing is like, you gotta temper your reactions. Okay. The fatalism, it's not going to get you anywhere and it's not going to help you. So if you hear your friend who's like your classmate or whatever being like, I'm never going to get these clinical hours. Yeah, you will. It sucks right now.
I always thought about, and I do this more now than the first time around because it was the first time doing this, so I didn't know any better. But now, if I have something like that I feel is catastrophic happen and then I react to it, if I look back and I'm like, would I be embarrassed about telling another human being how I reacted to this situation? And if I saw somebody else reacting in the same way as I just did to the same situation and I were freaked out, maybe I need to like cool it down a little bit and anchor myself again. Like if my pen falls on the floor and then I just decide that I'm not going to do anything the rest of the day, maybe the action versus reaction was not exactly where it should be.
Is my behavior childlike and embarrassing? That's a good benchmark. Like, yeah.
If you look like a large child at a preschool or a daycare center, reevaluate. It's not going to be the end of the world, even though it feels like it.
And I've totally had those days where like, I have this idea of what my day is going to look like. And I get to the coffee shop and like, they don't have the coffee that I want. I don't know. I'm making it up. And suddenly I'm like, oh God, this is an omen. This day is going to be terrible. How many times have we said that? Like, well, this is a bad sign for the day. No, it's not. It's just a thing that happened. So got to be really careful about not becoming these like fatalistic drama queens. And if at baseline, you're a fatalistic drama queen, then I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what to do for that. I mean, normally, like I'm not great at handling myself, but I could be worse.
I will say, as a corollary to this, I want to have like a little exception to this rule. Like, obviously, don't overreact, roll with the punches a little bit, but also you do have to kind of handle your emotions as they come because sometimes, you think you're really close to achieving something or you think something is finally going smoothly and then you get derailed. Well, you do need to handle these emotions as they come. Like you can't just be like, it's fine, everything's okay. When really inside you want to burst into tears. You do have to handle that.
And I feel like if you are having a bunch of things going on both in and outside of school, like if you broke up with your boyfriend and your internet's not working, so your assignments are late and your clinicals got derailed and this, that, and the other, like in that moment, I feel like it's okay to freak out if you need to like pop the bubble and release a cry. But I also want to say, and I am still learning this and I'm still trying to like reinforce this to myself, that having to schedule a time to be sad or schedule a time to like feel emotions is not healthy. So I think also if this time, maybe not a good thing that came out of this, but like if you are constantly feeling like you're so busy that you can't even take the time out of the day to like cry or sit down or like process what's been happening, like maybe some things need to be shuffled around, or maybe you need to like look at reprioritizing things, or like not time management because everything has to be done, but maybe like taking a look at what can be tweaked. Because I mean, granted, you can't lose yourself all the time, anything that happens, but you also can't, like you said, pile up your sadness for 2 weeks and then just spend a day watching PS I Love You and crying out 14 days of emotions, because that's not what we have.
Right. Because emotions are spring loaded in a lot of ways. The more you push that down, when it finally does pop up, it's going to pop up with such a fury that it's going to take some people out. But yeah, so I think we need to have this balance of like, you know, rolling with the punches and avoiding overreacting, but also, you know, sometimes you got to mourn some things. You didn't get into the program you thought you were getting it into because there's more competition, because schools are, you know, people are trying to get into school now more than ever because they're not working, you know, whatever the reason is. I think that mourning the disappointment, I think that acknowledging when something sucks is okay, but we need to use the tools around us to make sure that doesn't become our default setting. Because when everything is, you know, when everything is emotionally exhausting, when everything makes us feel like the whole world is falling apart, that might be a sign of something bigger. That's when it might be time to look into like counseling. You know, like you said, you need to reshuffle your schedule. Are there things that maybe do need to be put off? You know, do you maybe need to wait a little while before you can make these things come together? These are, I mean, two seemingly conflicting opposite things that we're saying, like, don't be over dramatic, but then also like have your emotions. I think it's, you know, that's the line that we're walking all the time in every aspect of life. And I think in this case, it's okay. You know, mourn your losses, be upset that the program changed, be upset you didn't get the clinical placement that you wanted. But then as a nurse that was a huge influence for me when I was brand new said, you know, your patients need you, whoever it is, whether your patients, your classmates, your family, whatever, they need you. So have that cry and then splash some cold water on your face and get back out there.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're at work, even, you know, if you're like me, I'm working and I'm obviously still in school and life is still happening. If there are things that I do to relieve my stress at home and I'm at work, if I have the time, I'll do them at work. Like just last night, I was super stressed out and I wasn't feeling overwhelmed, but I just felt like everything was happening at one time. And I was starting to feel like I was being shoved into a box. And I just went into my patients' rooms and I just cleaned. And I like folded blankets, changed out pillowcases, wiped down the counter, sanitized things, got the blood out of the Accu-Check that was, you know, hidden because nobody realized it was there. And like, it made me feel better because I was still doing the cleaning. I was still doing the thing that made me feel better, but I'm doing it for somebody else, which feels good. And you're using that time productively. So you're still kind of handling the emotions as they come with, you're still appropriately handling things, but you're doing it constructively rather than me like crying in my alcove, like, you know.
I think what you're also doing in what you're describing is maybe you can't control the shift you're having. Maybe you can't control the situation you're in, but you can control the things in the environment around you, like literally. And I find that often when I start nesting or cleaning or organizing or trying to KonMari my house or whatever the fuck I'm doing, it's usually because I'm feeling out of control about something. So it's okay. And it's actually a really good point that you're making, I think, indirectly. If something's not going right, try to do something that feels right. Try to do something, like you said, that normally would make you feel a little bit more in control. Whether that's wiping off the counter where you're sitting, organizing your patient's room, you know, organizing your notes for school, whatever it is. Try to take that like nervous, frustrated energy and put it towards something, you know, that's good in that moment, that gives you something to feel good about, something to ground you. So
I feel, and I'm just saying this because you brought it up, and the more I think about it, like the better it is. And I love that you brought it up real quick, and then we can.
Yeah, no, please.
You know, when you were talking about how as a society, you feel like you have to rush. Like we don't just kind of savor in that sweet spot between point A and point B. We just run to point B.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe just savor kind of where you're at now, because yes, everything may be going bad, but it's like you're also going for something that you know is going to pay off. You're going to end up loving what you're doing. And this may suck now, but like you're taking the steps to do what you need to do. You're still on a good path. Is it a detour? Yes. But being able to ground yourself and be like, you know what? I'm still going to be a nurse, whether that is 3 months later than I expected or 6 months later than I expected, or I'm doing clinicals a semester behind. Like you're still going to get there. And I hate being that person that's like, oh, try to look at the positives. Cause you know, sometimes I hate that person, but it is kind of nice sometimes to be able to look at the little things. Like this is a bad situation, but overall you're in a bad place, good spot.
I think you can still tally up the things that you've accomplished, achieved, or, you know, been granted. Like maybe you got waitlisted to the school you want to go to, but that's not a no. And there are things you can do to prepare in the meantime. Or, you know, if you didn't get the clinical placement that you were hoping for, maybe you have to go someplace different. You got a clinical placement. You're moving forward. So I think there is something to be said to like take each disappointment and try to find the thing that we can be appreciative for. That's, you know, a practice of mindfulness and gratitude. Sometimes those are really hard to swallow, especially when you really were wanting something, counting on something. I think that, we're allowed to be disappointed, but also it's a good practice to be like, okay, I had my, you know, this weekend was the weekend that I took to fucking be sad about it, run, exercise, whatever, however it is you deal with stress and disappointment, you can do that. You can take that time. And then Monday morning, you think, okay, what am I going to do instead? Or how am I going to handle this differently? Or what can I do to make this less of a pain in the ass for me? Whatever you need to say. Actually, it's funny. Like I had this little list of things I wanted to talk about. And the very first thing on the list I haven't mentioned yet. And this is something, where do I start with this? So like maybe 17 or 18 years ago, I found this list online of ways to maintain a mindful or ways to maintain a positive attitude. One of the things on that list has kind of become a mantra for me. And that is, and this is it verbatim. This is like the quote, worrying is wasted effort and the breeding ground of doubt. The antidote to worry is positive action. And so I've taken that phrase and over the last like better part of 2 decades in my head, I've brought it down to the antidote to worry is action. There's also within that, there was a phrase that, expecting rather than dreading adversity is going to just give you the mindset, you know, like you're running at it with your shoulder already into it instead of being off balance. You kind of already are setting yourself up to power through this time. So I think that the phrase, the antidote to worry is action, to me gets back to what can you be doing in the meantime? Okay, you didn't get into the class that you wanted or the program that you wanted. How do you make this time is going to pass anyway. How are you going to make it worthwhile? Maybe you can take, you know, an elective or a prereq or something while you're waiting. Maybe you can volunteer. Maybe you can do some research about the place where you're going to do your clinical, find some of the good things, find some of the challenges in that. So stop worrying so much and figure out what can I do about this? What caused my derailment? Is it in my control? And if it is in my control, how do I ensure that the next time around I don't miss, you know, how do I make sure I pass this class so I don't have to take it again? How do I make sure that I pass this entrance exam? Whatever it is.
I was going to say too, like just because you failed one class or just because you got waitlisted for a class or just because one set of clinicals was not scheduled the way you intended, it does not mean that that is how every single semester is going to go. So I think too, when that whatever period, whether it be the class, the wait list, the clinicals, the assignments, whatever, when that ends, try to shed the negative feelings that you had from that and try to start your next round of classes or clinicals or electives or whatever with fresh eyes. Otherwise, I think all the negative feelings and all the doubt and the anger and the frustration that you had from your previous class, it's going to carry into your new one and you're automatically like you're automatically going to be starting on the wrong foot because you're going to think, well, this one's going to be set off too. So how am I going to plan for this? And for all you know, it could go way smoother than the first time around and it could better prepare you for it. You just don't know. Right. But starting it off on a positive foot can maybe help you cope with it better.
And even if you're stressed and even if that positivity is hard to find, you can at least have some action in place. Like I know plenty of nurses that have had to redo entire semesters and now they're some of the best nurses I know. So these setbacks don't have to be the things that define us, for sure. Anyone that's listened to my episode on the bullshit route that I had to take to get through nursing school, I've had people even write to me. Some people have written to me and said, oh my God, I'm on the same path and it's driving me insane. How did you deal with it? And I've had other people that said, oh my God, I thought I had it bad, but now I realize that this minor inconvenience is totally I can totally handle this. So whatever your perspective is, if something, you fucked up some paperwork or, you didn't pass an exam, now you know where your weak spot is. So don't allow yourself to, kind of fall victim to that again. I also put on this list, which kind of goes along with it, be at the top of your deadline/bureaucratic game. And what I mean by this is that you don't want to lose points literally or figuratively over technicalities. Like you don't want to have to convince the office worker to take your application for this program one day late. You don't want to have to convince the teacher not to dock you a letter grade because I swear I thought I emailed this on time, but the email didn't go through because my Wi-Fi was spotty. You want to avoid all these things. And so you have to figure out what is it that screwed me up the first time? Or even if it's not your fault, what is it that derailed me? How do I anticipate the bureaucratic bullshit? Because places are not going to make exceptions. Everybody's always asking for exceptions. Be the person that has your plan. And, if it's the second time around for something, you already know what you need to do. And if you don't, find out what you need to do. So I really just think being at the top of your game with paperwork sometimes is the thing that keeps us on track. I had so many issues where I was like, well, technically you've missed our deadline. It's like, but I didn't get this letter in the mail until 2 days before the deadline. Well, sorry, we mailed them out. No, you gotta be at the top of your game for that kind of stuff. And that's frustrating, but that comes down to just basic organization. Get a day planner, set reminders in your Google Calendar, get your best friend to get on your ass about it if you know you're going to forget something. That was a lot of my problem early on, very, very early. I would miss a deadline, not do a discussion post. My A suddenly becomes a B- because, oh yeah, I guess there was 5 points with each discussion post I missed. I thought I only missed 3, but I missed 5. Yeah, you can't give away those points. So yeah, be at the top of your point game, I guess, is that one on the list. What else do I have? In our last episode, we talked about getting your online class game right, really making sure that if online school is not something you're familiar with or good at, figure it out. Talk to your friends who are good at it. Listen to Jillian's episode again. Figure out how to survive these damn online classes. I don't want to revisit tons of that stuff because I want people to listen to that episode. But any super quick tip, if you had one thing that you could say was your key to online success, for me, I would have said my day planner.
I'm going to say my day planner, and I'm also going to say listen to your body. Because if you are consistently falling behind on things where you didn't fall behind on before, or if you're suddenly having trouble focusing when you could normally focus before, if you're feeling like a shift in your normal routine, or if you suddenly feel like you're constantly tripping on the sidewalk, listen to your body and see what else is going on, because it may not be a school thing. It may be an outside thing manifesting itself in school.
Yeah. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking water? Do you have, support from the people around you in the ways that you need it? Are you speaking up and asking for things that you need?
And you don't have to feel like a failure because you're not taking care of yourself, because I think all of us are guilty of doing it. We put ourselves second for other people. And we would all run into a COVID patient's room to code them without a mask if it meant we could save them. Anybody would do it in a heartbeat. Like it's the way we are, but you're not alone. There's a reason why there are so many seminars, or there's a reason why there's so many resources, books, self-care for healthcare. You're not alone if you can't manage it all by yourself perfectly. Doesn't mean that you can't do this. Sometimes you just need a little help and guidance. Like you're not going to be great at everything the first time around. And this is another first time. If it's your first time going to online school during COVID with a messed up clinical schedule, you're probably not going to be perfect at it. And that's okay.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. That's a really good point. If this is all of our first times going through a fall semester with COVID, in a pandemic situation. These are all things that are very real. So you got to be forgiving of yourself and look to those who seem to be doing, I feel like I always say this, look to those that seem to be doing a good job. Even if you don't want to be the nerd that goes up to them and is like, could you explain to me how you look like you don't hate your life right now? Like you don't have to do that, but you can surround yourself with people that seem like they got their shit together and figure out what their secrets are, whether by asking directly or just kind of observing, taking some of those habits. And the last thing that I have on my list, I think kind of a nice segue into this, have backup plans for backup plans. And what I mean by this can be as big as don't just apply to one school if you can help it. Now, sometimes that's more complicated because different schools have different requirements. But that can also be something as little as, okay, you've got 2 classes, 30 minutes for lunch, and then 3 hours worth of simulation in the lab or whatever. You've got a packed day. You got 30 minutes for lunch. Well, are you going to go to Chipotle down the road at noon on a busy street? No, you're not, because you're going to stand in line for 25 minutes and then have to rush back and be late and not get to eat. So have backup plans for backup plans. Take a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, whatever. Make sure you know what your oh shit plan is for anything, as much as you can. And I don't mean, go out of your way to make all these plans that aren't necessary, but have a granola bar in your pocket. That's what I mean by that. Don't rely on systems that don't owe you anything. So don't expect that you're going to get in and out of, oh, well, I set up my eye appointment because I have 1 hour between classes. No,
that is not a good idea. Simulation with dilated eyes. That's not setting you up for success.
Exactly. So my point is that think about really what you're doing. Make sure you have backup plans in case the things that maybe you wanted to do aren't going to work out that way. That I think is just kind of a general tactic for school in general. Like they tell you don't wait till the night before to submit your online homework assignment, because if your Wi-Fi goes out, it's not my problem that you couldn't get to Wi-Fi on time. Have that little padding in your plans, basically. And once again, look to the people that seem to have their shit together and try to glean tips from them. And if you've got your shit together, share it with your friends.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this is a lot that we've kind of thrown at people, but I think that there are little gems in here that are going to apply to a lot of situations. There's no one fix for every situation, and some things really just suck, and you just have to wait till next time around. But like we said, time is going to pass anyway. So make sure that you're spending your time in ways that are getting you towards your goals. Even if it's only a little baby step towards your goal, make sure you're still moving forward. And if you can't move forward, then do something nice for yourself. If you ain't got shit to do this semester because you didn't get into the program you wanted, do something nice for yourself. Educate yourself on something that'll help you down the road. Save up some money. Change your habits that are bad for you. Whatever. I don't care what it is. Find a way to make that derailment, make it work for you instead of making it something that you dread or hate or have to suffer.
I want to take everybody's face and hold their cheeks in my hands and just be it's going to be okay. And you probably don't believe us right now because this seems insurmountable. And you may be incredibly crushed or sad or feeling like the world is going to end or that you're a failure, but it will be okay. They always tell you don't promise things you can't keep, but I promise it will be okay. Like, you wanted to do this. You were strong enough to jump off the cliff to go into this. You're strong enough to pursue this career. You know you have it in you. You will be okay. And you'll look back on this and it's just going to be a funny story, like the episode we did when I failed, and look at us now. You told me the same thing. It's going to be okay.
And I want to end this show with one more cliche, and that is, you didn't come this far to only come this far.
Yes.
So, that. Put that on a plaque above the bathroom sink. That's.
I have that on a sticky note in my bedroom on the mirror.
I hope this has been helpful to people. Jillian, every time you come back, I think we come up with, some helpful stuff. I hope there's some helpful stuff in here for people. Mm-hmm. If not, there is a lot of helpful stuff at nursinguncensored.com. So if this episode wasn't for you, there's something else for you, I'm sure. Go to the website and check it out. Jillian, it's kind of late at night. Even though we're both night owls, I feel like we're both fading. So should we just say happy nursing to everybody?
I think that is very appropriate.
All right. Happy nursing, everybody.
Happy nursing, everyone.
Here at Nursing Uncensored, we may be, uncensored, but we're not unfiltered. Protected health information has been changed and concealed to comply with HIPAA. The things we talk about are from years of experience with thousands of patients, things we've read, stories we've heard. If you think we're talking about you, we're definitely not. Also, we're real nurses here to provide helpful and accurate information, but don't take anything we say as fact without doing your own research. Refer to your state's Board of Nursing, Practice Acts, and your institution's policies and procedures if you have questions about your practice. Lastly, our very strong opinions are ours alone and do not reflect those of our employers, educational, or professional institutions. Thanks for listening, and happy nursing, folks.